Welcome back to this week's One-on-One Sports webcast. The NFL Draft is this weekend, and our experts Stephen Harris and Josh Markowitz are here to break down some of the best and worst of the NFL Draft in past years. Guys, obviously a lot of players don't pan out and teams invest a lot in them and it just doesn't work. So, Josh, I'm going to start with you. Who is the biggest draft bust in NFL history?
Oh, it's got to be Ryan Leaf. I mean, he was considered, along with Peyton Manning, to be a transitionatory quarterback going to take the league to the next level. And he only appeared in 21 starts, 4-17 in those starts, and a QBR of 50 and a 48.4 completion percentage. Absolutely awful.
That's a fair pick. I'll give you that one. I'm going to go with a different quarterback from just the year before. Not Peyton Manning, because no one's ever going to call him a bust.
No.
But I'm going to go with Tim Couch here.
Interesting pick.
Really, anybody drafted by the Browns in the last 30 years other than Trent Richardson is a bust.
Courtney Brown.
But I think Tim Couch highlights it all only because of who preceded him in the draft. Peyton Manning went off and was this phenomenal quarterback, a living legend. But Tim Couch came up, and then you're just thinking like, wow, totally got screwed on that one. So I think he's only the biggest bust just because of who came before him and because of the team he was playing. It's just not a good.
Yeah,
Leafs 14 touchdowns to 36 interceptions for his career. That was absolutely awful.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's tough when you invest so high in a quarterback and it just doesn't turn out, and that makes it difficult. But obviously, there are also players drafted in rounds 5, 6, 7 that do turn out well. Stephen A., which player turned out to be the biggest sleeper in NFL draft history?
There's one name comes to mind when I'm thinking of that, and that's Tom Terrific, Mr. Tom Brady. 199 overall. You get 199 overall, you're happy if they make the team. This guy, 5 Super Bowl appearances, 3 victories. I know he hasn't been great in the playoffs as of late, but still, from your 199 pick, you get 3 Super Bowls out of that? That's an amazing, amazing feat from a 6th-round pick.
I've got to go with a 14th round pick, 186th overall, Deacon Jones. He is the person who basically created the sack. In 14-game seasons, he had a 24 and a 26-sack season and 2 other 20-sack seasons, a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Just absolutely revolutionized the defensive end position.
I'll give you that, but he wasn't the best player on that team, but he wasn't the only great player on the team. Tom Brady there was nothing expecting from him, and he came up.
Tom Brady, though, only a 3-time All-Pro. Deacon Jones, an 8-time All-Pro.
Look at those receivers that he had, that he made look. You know, how easy is it to say that you made Troy Brown look fantastic?
A lot of those teams were the defense, though. So you got guys like Brewski and Vrabel who are leading that team.
That perfect season was all offense, though.
Yeah, Stephen, Brady was a great pick, but you really can't argue against that one either. Both very solid picks. Now, moving on to this year's draft, the Chiefs have a live pressure drafting number 1. A lot of teams made some picks, didn't work out, but then there were teams that did work out with the number 1 pick. So, Josh, which team made the best number 1 selection in NFL draft history?
Oh, it's got to be the Colts with Peyton Manning. He basically took a lowly team that had drafted guys like Jeff George and turned them into one of the powerhouses of the NFL. And when it's all said and done, he's going to be the greatest quarterback who ever played the game. Top 5 in the league in QB rating, completion percentage, yards per game, touchdowns, yards, game-winning drives, and comebacks.
I think you'll have a bit of an argument with Dan Marino and Brett Favre's name being thrown around there. Now, I'm going to go with the guy who played the same position. I'm not going to say he's a better quarterback, but I am going to say that he was better. They got better out of him. And that's Terry Bradshaw, number 1 in 1970. Okay. 4 Super Bowls, 4-0 in the Super Bowl.
A lot of that was the defense,
I know there was the steel curtain there, but still, he was more vital to that team. They needed somebody to be able to get it downfield.
They did have Franco Harris in the backfield, and Lynn Swann and Joe
Harris
good team, good team.
While they were a running team, they say, but that team was carried. That offense was carried on the backs of Terry Bradshaw, throwing down to Lynn Swann and John Stallworth. He's not a better quarterback, but I think he was better to his team because Peyton Manning. Bradshaw, only has 1 Super Bowl to show
212
for it.
touchdowns, 210 interceptions.
Guys, both players were definitely worthy of those number 1 picks, that's for sure. But moving on to our final question. A lot of people talk about this year's draft being very deep, not necessarily a superstar, but very deep overall. Speaking of deep, we're going to talk about the best draft class in history. Stephen, who do you got?
I'm going to go with the class of 2004, but I do understand that there are some great classes. but I'm going to go with what the potential that this
Okay,
class still
okay.
has.
Okay.
You got Ben Roethlisberger, who's been to 3 Super Bowls, won 2 of them. Eli Manning, 2 Super Bowls. Phillip Rivers was good to start. I still think he's got something left in him. Fitz, all those guys. You have a lot of Pro Bowls going up and down, and the potential for this class is still there because they're still young enough to make something of their careers.
I've got to go with the class of 1983.
That's
3
also
Hall
fair
of Fame
pick. That's fair
quarterbacks:
pick.
John Elway, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly. You got the all-time single-season rushing leader in Eric Dickerson, Darryl Green.
There also were a lot
Bruce
of busts in
Matthews.
that draft, too.
Every round,
If you think
though,
about it.
had all 12 rounds had a Pro Bowler. 15 of the 28 first-rounders made the Pro Bowler. And think, the second to last pick in the draft was a 3-time Pro Bowler. And also another
That's fair.
12th rounder, Carl Mecklenburg, was up for the Hall of Fame this year. Didn't make it, but still very deep.
I'm still going to go with the 2004 class just because the 1983 story has been written and it's told. I kind of want to see what else we can get out of this. I won't disagree that 83 is there. I'll kind of concede a little bit, but I still want to see what's going to come
class
left.
in the NFL right now, though.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I had to
Steven,
choose
I'm
there.
not going to give up on the 04 class just yet because they do have potential. But I mean, 6 Pro Bowlers from the 83 class, or 6 Hall of Famers, and then other Pro Bowlers. I'm going to go with them.
Fair enough.
But stay tuned because coming up, we will talk more NFL draft as our experts are going to give their mocks for the top 10. You won't want to miss this.